Hey there, interwebs! Today I'm going to attempt to scratch the surface of the question, why does the English language suck? Not how, why. English is so staggeringly disordered it would make a native-born Dothrakoi exclaim Kifinyani. Long story short, English is a bastard language. It's a hybrid of many other tongues, including French and Latin, Romance languages, and Proto-German, a Germanic language. This leads to some interesting situations and phrases, such as garden path. Garden comes from the French jardin, but path comes from the Proto-Germanic pataz. Nothing evolves in a vacuum, and language is no exception. Strange as it may seem, the enormity of English can be partially blamed on ancient metallurgy. Before we had steel, we had iron, and before we had iron, we had bronze. Bronze is usually a mixture of copper and tin, and this composition makes it softer and weaker than steel iron, making long swords susceptible to breakage, and so the short sword became the reliable weapon of choice. Fast forward a few thousand years. Steel has become the widespread kitting of the metals, but Romans are still quite fond of the short sword, having found that it works quite well with their centurion army style of legionnaires, and with their tower shields known as scudum and formations, including the testudo, Latin for turtle, from which the Spanish word tortuga possibly derives. The Roman Empire expanded outwards in all directions, but right now I'll focus on the north, where they conquered lands including those which would later become Italy, France, and Spain. The collective strength infantry tactics served them well in the fields of France into the Iberian Peninsula, but conducive to this approach, the dense hilly forests of Germania east of the Rhine River were not. Permanent settlers in Gaul with pre-existing political hierarchies similar to those in Rome also aided in conquest, but Germania was populated with many smaller tribes who lived for themselves. Because Romans were unable to maintain a steady foothold in the east, the local languages remained largely unaffected by the Latin tongue. Traveling further north, the Romans crossed the English Channel into the British Isles. There, the local Britons had already enjoyed free trade and diplomacy with the Roman Empire since Julius Caesar's expeditions in 55 and 54 BC. Things were quite a bit more complicated than I'm making them out to be, with lots of battles, but the gist is that eventually the Isles ended up more like Gaul than Germania, dominated once again by terrain favoring their tactics. Even taking this into account won't change the fact that English and German share a common linguistic ancestor, and so many similarities can be easily noted today. Fast forward a few thousand years or so, and Britons are speaking Old English, or Germanic language, with a noted Latin influence. It is now 1066 AD, and Edward the Confessor is keeping the throne warm. That is, up until he retires to his deathbed, where he names Harold Godwinson as his successor. This does not sit well with Edward's cousin once removed, William of Normandy, who was also considered to be a strong contender for heir, and Godwinson a bit of a dark horse, since William claimed that Edward had already promised him the throne. The Duke of Normandy decided to resolve this issue in the prevailing style of the times, with bigger gun diplomacy, though it would be more accurate to say longer sword. William assembled a large fleet of ships and invaded in September of 1066. He went decisively at the Battle of Hastings, where Harold was killed, likely by an arrow to the eye. William didn't just bring with him 10,000 troops, he also brought the French language at the time, and with the Duke of Normandy, now the King of England, rapidly became the official language of the royal court, with many historians agreeing that the famous Richard the Lionheart of legend probably never spoke a word of English and should instead be referred to as Richard Coeur de Lion. Now here we are a little less than 1,000 years later with an obnoxiously messy language spoken nearly the entire world over, and we're stuck with this direct due to metallurgy, geography, conquest, politics, etc. C'est la vie. Before you leave an angry comment, bear in mind that this is a gross oversimplification of stupid life always defying simplicity, so I'm sure I've gotten plenty of things wrong, but what do you want from me? I'm just an electrical engineering major. If you want accuracy, close the browser and find yourself a linguist.